Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your November. Can you believe it? Your November Astro-Tarot with me, Raphael from Radiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. Quick note, these readings are for your sun, moon and ascendant sign. So if you're a rising sun, moon or rising Saggy, this is for you. But remember, I use whole sign tropical Western astrology. So if you're only going to watch one of these, make sure it's for your ascendant. It's going to be the most accurate. All right. With that said, before we start, as always, I would like to bless my decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity, and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise, and they help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. So I'll pop these to the side. Those are for your lunations. So for your the first transit that I want to look at for you over the course of November, the first transit that I want to look at, oh my gosh, come on, Raf. The first transit that I would like to look at on the 4th of November, Saturn is going to go direct in your 4th house, right, on this day. Now, 4th house, 4th day, really interesting. But the reason this is a big deal is because when Saturn goes direct, we tend to feel wherever it's been drilling down on us, right, which for you is in your 4th house. So you might have felt home, family, property, real estate, like the home just may have been a bit more challenging. It might have been a bit more burdensome. There might have just been more things that need to be done around the home that seem to, it's like, you know, you put out one thing and then another thing shows up and it's like, I just haven't had the time to finish these things, right? Well, usually the feeling with Saturn energy is it takes a while to get up to speed. However, at the same time as Saturn goes direct, there is going to be a grand cardinal cross in the sky. So the moon is going to be at 28 of Cancer. The Pluto is going to be at 28 of Capricorn. So once a month this transit happens, not necessarily a massive deal. The nodes are at 24 of Libra and 24 of Aries, right? So suddenly we get this cardinal energy that is speaking very loudly. The moon is going to square the nodes. Pluto is square the nodes currently. This is happening for you across the 2nd house of money, finances, resources, personal values and possessions. The 5th house of pleasure, joy, romance, even children. The 8th house of debts, joint finances, other people's money, and also like the sex, sensuality, and the taboo. And then the 11th house of higher aspirations, like your future goals, orientations, and plans. So there is a lot going on there, right? And the fact that this is happening across all of these spaces, you might feel that usually Saturn takes a slow start forward, but this has got a lot of power behind it. So, it's great. The transit itself might give it an oomph that it needs to get going, but it's also potentially going to force an issue of some sort, and it might be like so prominent that it kind of needs to be, it will be at the forefront of your mind, let's say, right? So this could be around finances and money for sure, but it's just as likely that it needs to be, it could be around trust and intimacy and deep healing and regeneration. It might be tempered by some kind of conflict because it's the opposition to Pluto. It might be that there's a financial element to this around this time that feels like it's kind of out of your control. You might feel like things are developing and changing in terms of your future, and maybe even in your creative or speculative endeavors. And it might be, again, that you kind of feel like things are moving in a way that's not necessarily under your control. That's fine, right? The lesson here is that giving yourself what you need is what's going to bring you more control in your own world. Okay, so for this you have the Knight of Wands. That's a very saggy energy with the Devil card. Okay, and the Magician. So in this deck it's called the Witch, but that's the Magician, right? One of the ways that you, my dear Saggies, you might try to wrest control from the universe this month. Around this transit, and I just want to say it's probably not going to be wise, right? This is really about having a moment where you can kind of say, okay, you know what, I'm not in control here, but I can look after myself in the process. All right. The other thing is, it looks like a lot of you you just want to run, right? You just like, fuck it, I'm just going to do a bunker for a while. Maybe not necessarily possible. So something that does need to be considered at this moment in time. So the second transit that I want to look at on the 12th of November, this is explosive. Mars is coming into an opposition with Uranus. Mars, action, energy, passion, desire, willpower, forcefulness, conflict, war, challenge. Uranus, right? Rebellion, revolution, change for its own sake. It's the energy of like divorce because it pulls things apart, right? That's what Uranus does. It sees us divesting from the traditional. Now, this is quite interesting for a few reasons, but what I will say, I've said this to all of the signs, the transit window for this is between the 10th, so it comes exact on the 12th of November. But from the 10th of November to the 14th, I want you to be really mindful about the areas of your life that I'm going to be talking about in just a moment. Now, the fact that you have these two opposing each other, it's disruptive, it's eruptive. I'm fully expecting to see a volcano erupt around this time. Possibly even an earthquake will make the news. You know, that kind of stuff tends to happen, especially because Uranus is in the sign of Taurus, right? Taurus is the most immovable sign because it's fixed Earth. Now, that being said, Mars is in its own sign of Scorpio. Mars in Scorpio is like a deep, rolling, powerful, boiling energy. You know, when you see the surface of the water rippling because the boil is just steady, that's Mars in Scorpio, right? And it's a very magnetic energy as well. So you've got one energy that's trying to pull things, you know, push things together. You've got another one that's simultaneously trying to pull it apart. This could be explosive. Now for you, this is happening across your 6th, 12th house axis. This is the health axis, right? So the 6th house is your physical health and vitality. Your 12th house is your spiritual and mental health and vitality. And because these two are maintenance axes, you might be forced to look at an issue with your health, with your spirituality, with your own you know, with your mental health. Doesn't mean that you're, you know, all suddenly going to go crazy or anything like that, but this is really intense energy and it's quite irritating, right? So this is stuff, you know, I'm going to talk about that in a moment. And then finally, this is not a time to make online purchases, big online purchases where you're spending large sums of money, especially on anything technological. Technology could go haywire in that transit window as well, between the 10th and the 14th. Just watch out for it. Okay, this is a serious placement to have such an opposition. And so I urge you, my dear Saggies, look after your health, your mental, physical and spiritual health, right? In all senses, this is a time to really pay attention to what your body is telling you, what it's sharing with you, and opening up a line of communication. You know, if your spirit or your mind or your body says something to you, know, this doesn't feel right, or I'm not feeling good or whatever, look at it. If you notice like old niggles and stuff resurfacing, right, this could be an outbreak. It's kind of like, you know, when you've got a cold sore, right, it disappears, but as they say, you never get rid of it. And so when you get run down, things get intense, you get tired, whatever, boom, you have a flare up, right? I myself, naturally, everybody knows I'm asthmatic, so for me it's a chest infection. I know when I really get to a low ebb and I've got too much, like the first thing that will go, the nose, and the thingy will start. It used to be my throat. That used to be my warning system, right? My voice would start to go and I would know I need to take it easy because my body is telling me you need to slow it up, right? That doesn't happen anymore. So now I'm just kind of like, okay, I don't really know what to pay attention to. But this, if you have any old niggles or issues that resurface at this time, do something about it quickly, okay? It could also be that a health issue speaks up for you at this time really loudly and it won't be ignored, and it's a really wise decision for you not to ignore it. On the wider world stage, this could also be that an enemy reveals themselves, and potentially at the worst time possible. The 12th house is hidden enemies. The 6th house is people that... the 6th house is also enemies, right? They can be, like where the 7th house, they call it open enemies, which I actually see more as your competitors. This is people that really aren't for you, that don't have your best interests at heart, and you might be really surprised at where this comes from. Be mindful about this, right? Really do take a moment to look at it. Look at who is happy when you're down. Look at who is like, oh, you know, I'm really sorry to hear that. And they pat you on the shoulder and it's like, okay, yeah, there's a secret hater. Or people that use things that you've said to them against you in some way. I can't stand any of that shit. And I'm actually the sort of person that, like, I just, first of all, I will ignore it. And if it gets serious at some point, I will just turn and look at that person, or I'll say to them, listen, what's your fucking problem? All right, like, and this might be that. You may get to that point where you have to kind of call someone out, or you have to name and shame something. 12th place is a house of hidden enemies. 6th house is a place of people who are a burden or a bane to your life. Mars Uranus is explosive at the best of times, right? So it might be that you know, maybe people get to see that Saggy temper. And lots of people say like, oh, you know, they're always laughing and da-da-da, and they are most of the time, but girl, when the Saggies lose their shit, it ain't pretty, right? Look at that. First card out, 10 of Swords. There's a bust up coming here, and I would say you need to be careful. Especially, look, right? The next card out, the Knight of Swords. That's harsh, fast, aggressive communication, and you've got this with the 9 of Wands. Ooh, my dear Saggies, please, 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 please look after your physical health and vitality. And the second thing, maybe one of the ways that you can look after your physical health and vitality is removing people that are sapping your energy. All right, be very, very mindful and be very diligent in that transit window, the 10th to the 14th. It comes exact on the 12th, but I'm calling it at the 10th to the 14th. On the 18th of November, Mars is going Cazimi, right? This is powerful. So if a Mercury Cazimi is inspired thought or ideas or even conversations, a Mars Cazimi would be inspired action, right? This is where the Sun and Mars come into a conjunction. It doesn't happen, it happens like once every 2-ish years. This is a moment where you might come to realize, because it's Mars, the ruler of your 12th house, actually, in the 12th house, removing, releasing, severing, cutting away some kind of irritant or challenge. The Sun represents the... so in your chart, the Sun is the 9th house, rules the 9th house of Leo. But in general, the Sun rules authority figures. It can be male figures as well in your life. Now, this could be someone that you've looked up to. It could be a teacher, someone that you've considered like a bit of a guru, or somebody that you want to emulate. This could be someone that really disappoints you at this time. It's Mars involved, and it rules your 12th house and your 5th house. So this could be a secret affair for some of you that is revealed at this time. If you are having a secret affair, this might be a time, right? Because it's under the beams of the Sun. There's nowhere to hide there, right? That's like pure light. That's like pure light energy. And, you know, this might inspire you to release some part of your past, to let go of some part of your past, to say, you know what, that now I see it, this has a toll on my mental health, and I'm not going to let it do that to me anymore. All right, this is a double light being shone in the deepest recesses of yourself. It's something being cut away from your consciousness that I think will give you a greater sense of freedom than maybe you've had in a very long time. Pay attention to the ideas that come unbidden or in your dreamscape, right? They will give you those action steps that you need. For this, you've got the Page of Cups. Listen to your intuition with the Strength card. So this is going to be some kind of divine action. Look, and then you've got the Page of Wands. So 2 pages represents disquiet, but I am going to say the Page of Wands with the Strength card, that speaks to the time of Leo. Because this is a Mars Cazimi and the Sun is obviously the Sun is involved, and you know, Sun is the ruler of your 9th house, I am going to say look back to Leo season of 2023. What was happening for you at that time? What conversations were you having? What or who around you were you maybe a little bit unsure of? All right, and when I say around you, I don't mean people that you talk to on the internet. I mean people that have proximity to you, or people that you talk to on the internet that you are very, very close to. Something to observe here, because it looks like you've got something to say, and it might be that somebody doesn't want you to say that, or they rely on you being blind to, you know, to whatever has been said or done. All right. Anyway, on the 22nd, enough of the deep, dark, and heavy. On the 22nd of November, Venus is coming into an opposition with Chiron. This is happening across your 5th, 11th house axis. So Venus is in her own sign in the 11th, right? She does great work here for you, and she shows you what pleasure is to be derived from dreaming about the future, from thinking about where you might go from here. Women in power or prominent positions could be helpful to you at this time, because the 11th house is benefactors. So this could be someone that comes in and says, look, you know what, I really want to help you. Venus represents grace. And in the 11th house, this could be somebody that gives you some kind of grace or gives you some kind of help or support. It's wonderful because it puts you in touch with benefactors. Because it's opposing Chiron in Aries, which is in that 5th house, you might come to see how your children, if you have them, or your business or some kind of creative idea or endeavor has stopped you from being able to move forward or to take certain opportunities, especially when it comes to relationships. For this, you have the 8 of Wands with the 6 of Wands, love that, and the 8 of Swords. So, I mean, out of all of the readings that I've done, you've had the most double ups. 2 Knights, you've got intimacy. 2 Pages, you've got disquiet. 2 Eights represents new knowledge. So this Venus opposing Chiron, that's going to give you a piece of a puzzle of some sort. There's something that's being shared with you here, and once you have that piece of information, it will actually really help you move forward in some way. Finally, on the 25th of Mars, the 25th of November, Mars is coming into the sign of Sagittarius, which is your sign. This is a powerful energy boost that's coming your way, right? Mars rules your 12th house and your 5th house. This could be an energy that you have and exhibit now, right? And it's not just palpable, it's like it's coming from a deep well or reserve of power within you that you just feel like, wow, you know what? Now I've got a bit of rocket fuel in me. It might be as well an energy that you haven't felt for a while. This is fight energy, right? No flight. This is just pure fight energy coming into your sign. This is a powerful energy, and it might see that, like, with everything that you've been through this last couple of months, and I know some of you have really been through it, it might be that you're getting much stronger, and it's like that rebirth energy that you kind of said to yourself, you know what, I need that, right? That's the sun is the ruler of your 9th house, is in your 1st house at this point as well. If you're celebrating, happy damn birthday. I really hope you have a wonderful solar return. As if that wasn't enough, right? That's bringing light, heat, energy, vitality. Mars is bringing energy and passion, and Mercury is in your sign at this time as well, which is making you quick-witted and minded more than usual, right? And it also helps you see yourself in relation to the, you know, into the wider world and your connections that much clearer. Finally, you have the High Priest, or the Hierophant, with the Lovers card. Wow, okay. And the Queen of Wands. So, look, I think this is about you making some choices about how you're going to move forward and really shifting and changing your belief structure. I think you're going to reorganize your thoughts and maybe even your processes and your I think you're going to reorganize your thoughts. I think you're going to re-optimize your lifescape in some way, shape or form. And I think when you do, a part of that is going to be you setting much firmer boundaries. And I think when you do that, that's really going to weed out who you do or don't want in your life or in your world, right? So your new moon message and your full moon message, let's see what you have. All right, so for the new moon in the sign of Scorpio, that's a new moon in the 12th house. That's going to be a very deep time for you. And whenever you have a new moon, remember it's a dark moon. This is where things aren't necessarily seen, but things are set into motion. Because this is in your 12th house, this is a fresh start of your past, of your karma. It's also, I would say around this time, pay attention to your dreams. Really pay attention to your dreams, because they will be giving you some very deep messages. For this, you've got right, you've got the Gate 38 and Fighter. Love this card, right? If any of you have any Leo placements, you will have seen the Leo video that I put out. I kind of went on a bit of a Raffy rant like I went on a real rant. Effing and blinding left, right. But that's how I felt, right? And it is how I feel moving forward. So when I see this card for you about this 12th house new moon, that fighting energy, that fight that Saggy has naturally, innately, is about to start coming forward once more. So I love to see this for you. And then finally, for your full moon, you have the gate 18 and perfection. And this is a full moon. Excuse me. This is a full moon in your 7th house, right? Partners of all kinds, partners and contracts and connections and collaborations of all kinds, whether these are personal, professional, or platonic. If you're partnered and in a relationship, or in a partnered or in a relationship, there's something about this where you're seeing your partner and possibly all of their imperfections, right? So you might be kind of realizing like, yeah, I've actually had you on a bit of a pedestal, and maybe you're not that great, or maybe at the moment, and this happens, right? When you're in a relationship, it's not always like, oh, we're always so in love and we're always so nice to each other. Sometimes you piss each other off. Like, it's just the way that it is. This might be one of those times, but I think because it's a full moon, you might come to realize why your significant other is kind of pissing you off. For those of you that are single, this could be highlighting the fact that maybe your standards are, and it's always good to have high standards, right? Absolutely. I mean, I always say, like, for me, if I'm looking to date, the first standard, single taxpayer, right? Let's start there. Right? But this might get you to see that maybe what you're asking for, what you're looking for, it really is impossible to ask for it, and maybe at least at this moment in your life. So something to consider. And it's also probably having you really relook or re-examine a lot of your connections at this time. With that said, I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. If you want to get your personal Astro Tarot session, it's you, me, an hour and 15 minutes. We get into it, we go into it, right? This is just 20 minutes. Imagine what you get in all of that time spent with me and your chart and, you know, getting into it. With that said, you can get that on the link in the description box below. I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. If it's celebrating your birthday this month, happy damn birthday to ya. Take care, and I'll see you soon.